Okay, we are live and good evening, everyone. I am Lauren Gates. I'm the host of our Airway Health Solutions Conversation Series. I am so thrilled to have Dr. Felix Liao. Welcome, Dr. Liao, and thank you for being here. You're our special guest tonight, and we'll be discussing timely and life-improving strategies from his new book, which I cannot wait to be released, License to Thrive, A Mouth Owner's GPS to Vibrant Health and Innate Immunity. So welcome, Dr. Liao.
Love to join you. This
Thank
is such
you.
a pleasure. Yes, loving it.
So tell us a little bit, first of all, how did you come up with this title? Everyone knows your work from probably the most famous book that I recommend to every single one of my patients is, 6 Foot Tiger, 3 Foot Cage. And then you had the early sirens. So tell us a little bit about the progression and what we can expect from License to Thrive as an overview.
Sure. So License to Thrive had its origin in a 007 movie, License to Kill.
Ah.
So I looked at the leading causes of death in the US, and it's all mouth related. Right? If it's not heart disease, it's cancer, and then it's COPD, then it's diabetes, then it's obesity, then it's Alzheimer's. And now COVID, right? What is that? Hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth. And so either it's one wrong mouthful at a time, which has to do with usage, or degeneration from oxygen starvation by nightly installments, right? So this is what I call equipment. So if life is a road trip over your lifespan, then your mouth is like that car with a driver in it, okay? So there's the equipment and there's your driving style. Some people are cautious drivers, some people are reckless drivers. Some people are informed drivers, some people are, and the bigger the risk, the bigger the thrill kind of drivers, right?
Right, that's true.
So that applies to what I call mouth style, how you use your mouth to enjoy life or destroy yourself, as the case may be, right? So License to Thrive is the opposite of License to Kill, right? License to Thrive is about, okay, how do we use our mouth in a way, and how do we reconfigure our mouth in such a way that it allows the body to thrive. So ICU, what do you get if you get admitted to ICU? Ventilator, right? So what is that? Breathing. Well, we can help people sleep in their own bed and breathe better with our own devices, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I go to ICU.
I love, it's so funny. There's so many quotes from your book, and I had the pleasure of reading the manuscript. I know it's not published yet, so this is kind of a pre-published party, if you would. But I can't wait for this to be released, because it's, if everyone followed your principles, it would be like heaven on earth here,
Yeah,
truly.
what a great punchline that is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is very, very true. And so one of the premises that, you have to have good equipment to enjoy the road trip, all right, through life. And the other one is you have to have a sensible operator style, right? You cannot take undue risk. You cannot make overly risky moves, all right? So this is the first book that I know of that combines oral appliance therapy, airway, digestion, and alignment together with a bone building nutrition. So
now, when you say oral appliance therapy, I know that's not like the typical oral appliance therapy, but that perhaps people are thinking you may be referring to. Or can you kind of touch upon what your version of oral appliance therapy entails?
Sure. All right. So first of all, it's maxilla based. Okay, so we're past this argument that, okay, mandibular advancement is the center of the universe. All right, the Earth is round now. Okay,
As we can see behind you.
Yes, it's the point of the madness. Yeah. So the Earth is round now, and so maxilla actually dictates the mandible. All right. So if you're not seriously looking at maxilla as a etiological source of what I call impaired mouth syndrome. Okay. So impaired mouth syndrome is what happens to the body when your mouth structure is deficient or poorly developed. All right. So we know what polio does to people, right? You got this bum knee and your whole body wobbles. What happens when the jaws are developed in such a way that the rest of the body has to compensate for it? All right. So if you have let's not say polio, let's say you have a sharp stone in your shoe, in your boots that you can't take off. You end up walking funny, and pretty soon you have low back pain or neck pain, right? Well, what happens when that sharp stone or thorn is in your mouth? The same thing happens to the rest of the body, okay? And this is what impaired mouth syndrome is. So what are the oral structural contributions in the form of impaired mouth to the rest of the body? So what are impaired mouths like? How about crowded lower front teeth? How many of those do we see in a day that just kind of go right out the door undiscussed, right? What does that do to their airway, to their TMJ, to their neck and shoulder and back pain? I know when I was in general and biological dentistry, right? The patient comes in and says, oh, please adjust my headrest carefully, and can I put a roll under my neck? And my assistant will roll her eye, and I would say, well, that's your chiropractor's issue, right? Well, not anymore, because now we know better. The Earth is round, and that there is a major oral contribution to cervical and back pain. How do I know? Because my patients taught me. All right, so all we do is, every day I put something in between the patient's maxillary and mandibular anterior teeth, just to free them up from their habitual malocclusion. And I told them to take a walk, and they all say, oh my God, I feel like a new person. I feel smoother. I'm less of a drunken sailor. I've been told that I can't walk straight all my life, right? So nobody's ever looked at the mouth as a source of pain. Not toothache, but postural pain. Right? Nobody's really seriously considered dentists as serious doctors, because you guys just work on teeth. They're great tooth carpenters and great at making smiles, but back pain, no way, right? Well, what about internal medicine? We know that from experience, again, my patients taught me these things. I had a patient who's been a year and a half now without having to use her asthma medication.
It's miraculous in a sense, right?
Yeah. You cannot believe it. And this is over 30 years of relying on her ventilator, not going any place without it.
So I know we're both really excited to talk about all of these topics. You have 25 chapters, and we could literally spend 25 hours doing this. So,
Dr. Schuster,
but
it's
I
Dr.
do.
Schuster calling. I'm calling you.
Oh,
I'm calling you before your big day tomorrow.
Hold on, someone has to be on mute.
You listen, when you go in to see Dr. Budak, I left a message that make sure
you're on,
right
on mute. Hold on. Let me just, I can't find it.
Anyways,
Dr. Schuster, you just need to mute yourself.
Remember when I talked to you before about Marin? I said I might need to see her for a scan, just because we're going to put like a little retainer on the top.
Hold on.
And just make sure you schedule
Dr.
her.
Schuster, there we go. I could find him. I couldn't find him. We have a lot of attendees tonight. We had close to 200 registrants, and I believe that 43 are with us, and we have some on Facebook. So welcome. You can please leave your questions in the chat. But what I wanted to say was we didn't start off with a formal introduction just because we're so excited to get talking about this topic that we're both so passionate about. But can you just rewind a little bit and tell us how you got into this holistic concept, how you got to become airway-centered mouth doctor? Because you certainly didn't learn this in school. Am I correct?
Absolutely. You know, dental school's principal focus is to turn us into good tooth doctors. All right. That's because a couple generations ago, dentists were just so inundated with cavities and toothaches and abscesses. Preventive dentistry is doing a great job with the help of the hygienists. We have done we pretty much eradicated caries as a routine problem, right? Everybody knows now that when you find a cavity, it's an exception rather than a rule.
Right.
So now dentists have to say, okay, how else do I use my smarts and my talents? And what happened to me was that when I was in dental school, first of all, I was in college 2 years after coming here from Taiwan. And my English was not that good. And I found myself in competition with people who went to boarding school and they can whip out a paper overnight and get an A. And I would read for a whole week with the dictionary under my arm, and I would read 58 pages. So it was not a level playing field. But I did, came out with an engineering degree because I could do the math and science. And I got to dental school, like all the mothers under the sun. She wanted me to be a doctor. And I thought, no way. I couldn't read fast enough, right? And I didn't want to be telling people, okay, I need to amputate your leg, or your mom just died and there's nothing more we can do. I didn't really enjoy that process so much. One night I pulled out of bed upright and said, hey, how about dental school? There is some place I can handle with my level of English. So I thought.
The engineering background comes in handy, right?
The engineering background, when I got to dental school, kicked in, and
Yeah.
you know what I thought? I thought, what is this thing about teeth grinding? It does not make sense, right? So teeth are the hardest tissue we have in the human body, in the animal kingdom. Other than geology, I think we have the hardest substance on earth, right? Okay, so now, why would the body destroy the hardest substance in the body, assuming that it's an asset to have teeth, right? So it was completely inexplicable to me. So it began a 30+ year search. And make that long story very short, I came to a conclusion after taking courses everywhere. I did craniosacral therapy, I did TMJ, I did nutrition, I did Chinese medicine, I did chirodontics. I pretty much covered the whole gamut, natural medicine, and I didn't find the answer. Finally, I took some orthodontic training, and there was a residency there from Dr. Bailey, Dennis Bailey from UCLA, lecturing in Parkersburg. And he was the first one to say, lateral ethers in bruxism, it is related to sleep. I said, what? And then from there, I met Dr. Singh, the inventor of DNA appliance, and the rest was history. And so the last piece of the puzzle was in place. So long story, one-line answer. Teeth grinding is one frame in the movie.
Right.
The movie is called Airway Obstruction During Sleep. The movie is not called dentistry. The movie is not called malocclusion. The movie is not anything dental. Teeth is just a roadkill.
Right. That's
We'll
an
feel
interesting way. Okay, I haven't thought about it that way. That's
Yeah.
another thing. Throughout your book, you have wonderful analogies that are great to relate to patients. And it seems like your conversations just come to life that you've had with your patients. Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes. We really enjoy having, chairside chats. And so what happens is that my office manager often has to say, hey, guys, move it. Next one.
Yeah.
But because we have so much fun. And so it got to the point where when I saw, for example, you talked about 6-foot tiger, 3-foot cage. I was trying to explain how and why you need to redevelop the jaws and how that relates to the airway. And this didn't work, that didn't work until I came up with 6-foot tiger, 3-foot cage. And I saw the eyebrows went up in everybody's face. And I said, there it is.
Right. Those are the wonderful analogies that you have that just stick,
Yeah.
And then you go through the book, also your personal experiences, which I feel is really relatable and honest and endearing. So it was really, I'm excited for everyone, as I know it's like a tease because we don't have it out yet, but maybe you could kind of come up with a GPS system. I would love to quote you from your book, if I may.
Sure.
You say you are not only what you eat, but also how you eat, sleep, and live. Your mouth is the source of your energy and the gateway to your gut, brain, heart, and dental health. License to Thrive is your driver's training on how to own and operate your mouth toward vibrant health naturally and away from obesity, diabetes, cancer, heart, or other killers, diseases proactively. So the big word there is proactively, right? We want to be ahead of this curve for sure.
Right. So, what is our public health telling us about this pandemic? How to deal with this pandemic, right? Everything is defensive, right? Everything is about washing your hands, keeping the distance, put the shield on, all right? So how can you be proactive in this pandemic, right? I love being in the dental profession because prevention and being proactive is built into our professional DNA. And I'm just simply saying that our kind of being proactive, our way of prevention is nothing that medicine knows. And it's something that they could basically take a page and learn from. All right. So I'm trying to apply what happens to oral hygiene to say teeth, to say, geez, is there such a thing as systemic hygiene that we can apply to save hearts, brains, breasts, prostates, what have you, joints, okay, memory, all right? So the answer is yes. And the biggest part of systemic hygiene really comes through your mouth. So that's what this logo is about.
Mm-hmm.
You see the logo, okay?
Yep.
This logo basically shows the white as the digestive tract and the green as the respiratory tract. Okay, and L2T stands for licensed to thrive. Okay, so the mouth mediates some of the most basic physiology in the body. First of all, is the mouth part of the head? Yes. We forget this, okay? We're such tooth doctors that we don't drill into the patient's head, pardon the pun, that, where we work is part of your head, your skull. You could be minus any and all of your 4 limbs, but you cannot be minus this thing from above your head, above your neck, right? So we work in a crucially important part, and we minimize our importance by remaining as what I call tooth doctors. This is the legacy of our dental training. It's part of the limitations built into us in our practice by society, with dental insurance being tied to these, insurance codes
Right.
that relate to dental procedures you do, right? And then the patient expectation. So we're boxed into this little corner that says teeth, okay? And the US Surgeon General back in 2000 issued a report called Oral Health America, in which it says a healthy mouth is much more than healthy teeth. Well, how's that for a profound statement, right?
And that was a while ago, right, Dr. Liao? Wasn't that like 2000?
2000,
Yeah,
20 years
that
ago.
was their 2020 vision, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody
And here
has
we are.
nobody has picked up the torch and ran with it.
Well, you
And
have. You have.
Yeah, I think we are trying to do that. Okay. So here's the, let's just come back to this logo for a second. Part of how we grow as newborns, in the first few minutes coming into this life is what? You get spanked in the fanny so that you go yell and big cry, right? That inflates the lung. And then to stop you from screaming, a bottle or nipple is put at your lips and you can suck for dear life, right? This is built into every one of us, okay? So through repeated cycles of sleeping and feeding, we grow, gain strength, and eventually we can sit up, use our hands, put things in your mouth, and crawl and stand up and walk, okay? So this is how we grow. This is the human origin after birth, right? So the mouth is really to our entire human structure what the pyramid's base is. Only we grow from the top down. This is the important concept. This top-down development never changes. So what happens when your maxilla is narrow? You have a high palatal vault because you grow up with stuffy nose and mouth breathing. All right, and so you get recurrent infections in the ears, in the tonsils, and you get lots of antibiotics just to put that behind you. Now your gut is wiped out with good flora. Now you wonder why later on you get so many allergies and food sensitivities and autoimmune diseases, okay? So the origin of illness is here, all right? So we need to, as dentists, kind of broaden our viewfinder, right? So this is my job, to kind of open up this tunnel vision. You go to a party, you meet someone new, what do your eyes do? You zero in on their smile, right? Because this is what we're conditioned to do. Well, Dr. Ben Moralia, Lauren, and I are trying to get people to open their viewfinders so you see the whole person, all right? You see their history from birth to now, medically, dentally, mentally, emotionally. And that includes their sleep habits, and that includes their daytime symptoms, all right? We also look at a patient from the scalp down to their feet. In my practice, the first thing I do when I listen to a new patient is literally listen. I put my ear next to the patient's corner of the mouth, and I say, inhale with your lips closed. I'm listening for nasal obstruction. Okay. So there's a whole new way to practice that allows us to really maximize our wheelhouse, which is the oral cavity, the content, okay, and the surrounding structures. Because if you get this part right, if you clean up and straighten up this mouth,
It's an exciting time to be a
the
dentist.
patient will be thriving. Yes, yes. And you can do this before the patient ends up in ICU or ER.
And then with your philosophy, the way you treat patients, I bet you had COVID-19. Has this hit your practice hard?
No, my practice is booming. I cut my practice down to half size. So I only see 2 patients a week. I mean, patients 2 days a week. And my practice income basically doubled.
Yeah,
I mean, the demand is so.
that's a nice equation.
Yeah, and I was also put it out there for you people. If you don't want to do more of the same hamster wheel routine, you can have 50 to 60% profitability doing this. And low stress, not having to bend over the patient for a living. And have patient come back and thank you rather than complain to you about what you do to them. Okay.
You
So-
talk a lot about structure and style. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of control about our style. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Okay, so let me just go to my next slide.
Sure.
In case people want to get in touch with me, we'll show this again at the end, but you're welcome to reach out to me for whatever additional information. But this is the important part that, if we're going to become mouth doctors, we need to understand that we're in charge of the gateway into the body. What a great place to be, okay? And in fact, here, we can literally turn somebody around in a proactive way. I have the greatest respect for, ICU professionals. I have the greatest respect for first responders, okay? They are doing resuscitative medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, I wrote this in my book. If I get hit by a car, I don't want homeopathy. I want the best trauma center, okay? It's not like I don't believe in it, but I would rather not have to have it. I would rather not have to go to ICU. So what do I have to do? Well, this is our wheelhouse now, okay? So actually the mouth, I define a holistic mouth as one that is structurally fit and sensibly used to support whole body health, okay? And so the mouth actually is a multitasking organ. I call it ABCDES, alignment, breathing, circulation, digestion. What is that for? Give you energy, all right? And of course, we're involved in sleep. So what happens when your mouth is not structurally fit and not sensibly used? Now you're in big trouble. And I call this impaired mouth syndrome. I'll show you what that is very shortly. But this is a big concept. If you have impaired mouth structure, you're going to be prone to oxygen deficiency. And snoring and sleep apnea and teeth grinding are just manifestations of airway obstruction and oxygen deficiency. Okay, so now you don't feel so good. And then if you have impaired mouth style, nobody ever showed you not only what to eat, but how to eat. Right? If I can take you to a 5-star or 50-star organic buffet and you don't know how to eat, you still can kill yourself. All right, so how you eat is at least as important as what you eat. How fast, how much, when, and how much is enough, right? How much butter and syrup should you put on your pancake? You think it matters after a lifetime to your arteries or your pancreas, right? And then when you don't get these two right, you end up with what we see everywhere, which is what? Inflammation. How do we see inflammation inside manifesting outside? Pot belly, double chin. We see this every day. Nobody does anything. I had a patient, dental patient. This is when I was still practicing dentistry in Rhode Island. I had a patient who had a radio talk show, and he's always talking about nutrition, alternative medicine. And he sat in my chair. I looked at him, and he's got a pot belly like the size of a basketball. I said, Fred, you harp on nutrition. How come you're sporting a pot belly? And he said, well, that's why I'm on radio. Nobody calls me up on ever.
Right.
All right. So sometimes patients are just like those kids, they're waiting for the parents to say something before they do something, right? Do the right thing. So it's our job to kind of, take charge of the mouth, to help them take charge of their health and their medical dental destiny. And so, like you say, Lauren, this is so exciting. I mean, I think I can just keep doing this for the next 30 years. And I'm in the fall, a hell of a time. Okay.
Well, you're certainly going to live a long, healthy life. That's for sure. I mean, you're saying that you actually lost 6 pounds doing what you were advising to do, but you weren't, you didn't seem overweight. So it's just, you look lean and mean, Dr.
I
Liao.
never felt deprived. I never felt deprived during that time. Okay. So we see the results of impaired mouth syndrome all the time. Okay. So I define a impaired mouth as a defective infrastructure, just like you have a lemon of a car for a road trip through life, right? You can still eat, drink, and talk. Like you can still drive a clunker and still get someplace, but the journey is not pleasant. Because why? This mouth cannot support A, B, C, D, E, S. And it will contribute to a low life quality, including many of these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So look at your patient's registration, new patient registration form. See what they check off. They mean something to the patient. My intake interview consists of one question. What are your 3 wishes to the fairy godmother? Symptoms. Medical, dental, mental, emotional. Symptoms you wish you didn't have to put up with day after day. I mean, I had a 14-year-old boy this morning. He told me he had neck and shoulder pain, he had anxiety, he had low back. 14. It had to be really bad because when you're growing, you don't feel pain. Okay. Bicuspid extraction. This is a man-made disaster. Okay. These are people who suffer the most. Everybody who's a dentist has got patients like these, and you can help them. All right. They're dying. They're turning blue inside waiting for you. COVID-19 now doesn't mean the year 2019, it means 19 pounds gained from the lockdown. Okay. People are stressed. What do? They eat. All right. So we are the ones in position to do this. All right. Patients like this is everywhere. Everywhere. You just have to stop looking at them, how do I say, lying down with their mouth open like in a hygiene chair.
Right.
I'm saying no. Ask them what you would like for fairy godmother to take away. Now, I'm not a fairy godmother. I'm just a fly on the wall, busy writing and see what I can help them with. Can I help him with this? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Can I help him with this? Absolutely. Can I help him with this? Absolutely. If I don't help him, let's put it this way. I have enough experience now, I can dare say this. If I don't lend a hand with what I know, he would never get completely well. Mm-hmm. He'll be a high-risk COVID patient. Okay. Once he goes into an ICU, odds are he'll not come out rather than he will come out. Okay. So this is someone we really need to look after. All right. And he actually came to my house, spent a week, and I showed him how to cook, how to eat, and I worked him up, and we're actually doing the right thing for him. And he's on his way so that we can avoid this kind of thing. Okay, the ventilator is the last line therapy, right? You don't want to not have a fallback. So how do you keep the first domino standing strong in the first place? This is what we do, man.
That's why you're literally like on top of the world, right? Because this is what makes you want to go to work every day.
Yes, this is where we have the Superman's cape and we wear the white cowboy hat and we go and keep people out of trouble. And believe it or not, there's a huge market right now. COVID has really made people hyper aware of the importance of this work. All right. If your mouth is structurally deficient, it's a lemon for your body. Then your digestion and your sleep and your oxygenation is impaired. All right. You're in a bad mood. You're looking for escape. You drink caffeine, alcohol, 5-hour energy, whatever. And then you eat and you have runaway inflammation and diabetes. And down the hill, you not only go, but basically ski faster and faster and faster like a snowball.
Right.
So how do you turn somebody around? All right. People who live with this thing for a long time here, I want to just skip ahead. This is really where being a mouth doctor is a whole lot more than being a tooth doctor. All right. People who live with this kind of airway here for a long time, they're going to be in this situation. Every night they go to sleep, they're confronting death. So this picture was snapped by this wildlife photographer of the year for London Natural Museum, Natural History Museum in 2019. Okay, this was in Tibet, and it was in February, I think. This one just came out of its holes in the ground to look for some food, and then it got surprised by this marmot, this fox. This is moments before the marmot became lunch. So can you imagine the adrenaline surge running through this marmot now? I mean, you can literally hear the scream here. And this is what happened to those patients with this kind of airway. Every night they go to sleep. Now you have one bad night's sleep, fine. The next day you don't feel so good, but maybe that night you will make it up, right? What happens if that happens night after night for decades? All right. So this is why I say we really need to understand how the body goes downhill to the point where they end up in ICU and still cannot recover. Okay, so this is about stress hormone or cortisol levels on the vertical axis. Okay, there's an optimal amount that allows your body to respond to stress. As the stress goes up, like we go through dental school, or like you start a family and suddenly you're juggling 3 careers within the same 24 hours, right? Well, you're able to respond if you start at a good place. But with time, with unrelenting stress, plus wrong eating, plus airway obstruction, now you start to decline. Your cortisol level peaks, and now it's not able to keep up. You start to drop. Okay, so this is your optimal health level, and this is your health collapse, way on the right end of your horizontal axis. We see a lot of sleep apnea patients either in this zone or this zone. Okay, so cases have chronicity, severity, and complexity. All right. Someone who is going through graduate school, they're in their mid to late 20s. They could stay up all night for several nights, get the project behind them, and then go on vacation and not miss a beat. Why? Because their cortisol, their adrenals is still working. 2 or 3 decades later, not. Especially if they're obese and this airway problem was not diagnosed for them. Okay, this is a 27-year-old lawyer, 29-year-old lawyer. Okay, And this is where she hurts. And she's got a beautiful set of teeth. And she's got this airway. And she's trying to start a family. So if we mouth doctors don't recognize this, first of all, if she gets pregnant, her baby may not survive because of this. I've had 3 mothers who had this issue started, and now they are happy. They have happy children after we fix this. Okay. So what's important is that if you miss this under your watch for a long time, and every night they confront death, they'll end up here or worse yet, here. All right. So to bring people back. So first of all, we need to recognize, where is the patient? Is this easily fixable? Or is the tank is so empty that you need to fill the tank before they can find their way back up the hill? All right. So how are you going to help them? Obviously, you need oxygen, but never, ever imagine that your oral appliance is going to fix someone who is way down here. Their thyroid is not working, their adrenal is not working. You may very well aggravate their condition. And these people are already very brittle. All right. So diagnosis, whole health diagnosis is super important. So it turns out that these people need to have their liver and gallbladder and adrenals and thyroid supported. They need their diet changed. Okay. We're very big on bone building diet. And it's nothing fancy. This is my bachelor food. I buy turkey wings on sale for $3 a pair. You can't get anything cheaper than that. You can't even get a burger that cheap. Okay?
And the things you can do now with the pressure cookers and the Instapots.
Yeah. I plug this into my steamer, and 20 minutes later, I got beautiful bone broth. And I like the kind of bone broth that we just had Thanksgiving, right? So if you were to make soup with that, you put that soup in the fridge. You know what happens when you take it out? It's like gelatin. That soup is not liquid. It's semi-solid. What makes that soup semi-solid is called gelatin. Gelatin and vitamin C makes precursors for bone. And what are we trying to do with our maxillar expanders for adults? Okay. And so for vitamin C, I just recommend a green smoothie. Chocolate powder is optional. Here's arugula, here's tomato, and the bottom is celery and carrots, half a banana for taste, you're good to go. And this thing takes less than a minute, okay? And you can add coffee in the morning, you can add protein powder, you can add, what do you call that? Medium chain coconut oil.
Okay.
You know, the bulletproof coffee thing. You can do whatever you want to make it last long. Peanut butter, a black sesame paste, fine. And this stuff will actually reduce blood sugar. I mean, I drank this.
I'm sorry, Dr. Liao, but I just want to, you mentioned in your book that once the style has kicked in, you notice like old favorites become too sweet or too salty.
Yeah.
Or just plain too much. So how long would that take a patient about to adjust to that new healthy lifestyle and not miss the sweet?
Okay, so I can only speak from personal experience. I had been a kind of a low grade pastry holic. I like a cup of coffee, a cup of black coffee, and have some pastry to go with it. I'm not particularly picky in the old days. Now I am very conscious and not picky in the sense that, I look down upon this versus that, or that is nutritionally bad for me. I'm talking about a fundamental change in your taste bud. All right. Like, so for some of us, you can get us to eat fast food for 3 meals in a row. right? I mean, that's just a change in your taste bud, right? Well, I've gotten to the point where when I see fancy pastry, I just say nice work, but I don't have that desire for it anymore.
Mm.
I walk by a chocolatier. I don't have to have my what is that called? Used to be called the almond bark. I don't have to have that anymore. Okay, so the hook, the addictive hook of sugar starts to lose its grip on you. Okay, so it's hard to say, but I would say give it about 3 to 6 months.
Mhm.
All right, because what happens is that this ingredient here will reconstitute your your receptors. It will renew your cells in such a way that you're not so sugar driven. Of course, it helps if you don't have, eating sweets or drinking alcohol as your escape hatch from stress, right? I mean, in the pinch, we all have our go-to, and coffee is certainly universally accepted, right? But if you do enough of this bone building diet, you will naturally lose that craving for sweets. The worst craving I get now is I want some potato chips to go with this. Just to have something,
That little
right?
crunch.
So I'm no saint yet, but I'll tell you that I wish I learned this thing 30 years ago, because I could be double Superman now.
So we know, Dr. Liao, it takes a team. How
Yeah.
how do you collaborate? Did you build a team of like-minded healthcare professionals in your area?
Yes, yes. I will tell you that it's going to depend on the talent in your area, but the most important talent is going to be you, the mouth doctor. Okay, it's going to be you, the holistic mouth consultant. We have a program for hygienists. We have a program for assistants, for airway coordinators. So they're recognized to be an integrated mouth consultant. And you see clues of people from the outside, you talk to them, you can figure out what their inside is like. And you do 2 cases with a mouth doctor on redeveloping their airway, and they get better. Okay. And I want to just kind of give a quick shout out to Lauren and Ben's work,
Well, thank you.
specifically for children. Okay. Pediatric obstructive sleep apnea. Now, these kids have no teeth, okay? They have no teeth. How come they have sleep apnea, okay? That's a really good area, a good question to ask, right? So these children is a disorder of oral facial growth. Now, doesn't that puts a ball squarely in our court? If we're not in charge with our on proper oral facial growth, then who should be? All right. So learn from Lauren's group, fine work. Recognize these signs, educate the mother. Look, you shouldn't be putting chapstick on your kids because he's mouth breathing all the time because he's got fish gills for nostrils. And this has everything to do with what you feed him. The 2 eyes are not even. All right. He would have temper tantrums, or he would have moodiness. Okay. So he cannot be too comfortable in his body. Kids who suck their thumb, they're trying to do cranial therapy on themselves. They're trying to relieve their sutural strain. All right. So catch them early. Don't wait until this stage. I mean, this girl went to some dental checkup for 5 years before she came to see me. Oh, no cavity, but you know what? We missed the rest of the person. Okay. So it's this. And now we have cone beam CT. We can see their sinus. We can see how stuffy their nose is. Okay. We provide trainings on how to recognize this is the case before we even do a CT scan. The nasal valve here will collapse, okay? And you'll be able to pick that up. And the patient is gonna say, God, I'm not coming to another dentist, I'm coming to a mouth doctor, and you breathe. And when someone has this kind of nasal obstruction, they will be moody, they'll be achy, they'll be tense, they'll be anxious, and they won't feel like it, whatever that it may be. All right. Party, relationships, good time, fine company, forget it. Okay. So, adenotonsillectomy, is that an answer? No. Here's a study. It's in the book, so you don't have to write this down. But 5 years later, in a 5-year follow-up, 27% of the adenotonsillectomy patient had complete resolution of sleep apnea syndrome. So that's not where it's at, because 72% of the time it didn't work. So tonsils is a roadkill. Again, just like teeth grinding, okay? Tonsils is not the cause. Standard American diet is. So look at this girl. This is her adenoid. We have this technology now. So learn how to think like a real doctor and figure out what's wrong where and how much to help these patients. All right. And the easiest thing I can tell you is start a conversation. Use this thing that I devised called the impaired mouth syndrome score. Give it to every one of your patients. You'll realize that your patient are turning blue just waiting for you to get this. Okay. So on the left side, it is your malocclusion, typical signs of malocclusion. Okay. We're so fixated on cosmetic dentistry now that we forget what malocclusion does to the rest of the body. And that's all I did was I looked it up. I put down some of the more common signs and consequences of malocclusion on the left side. On the right side is sleep apnea. Okay, so it's airway, mouth structure. So I call it impaired mouth syndrome score. Now, the more ones, now this is like no, yes, no,
Right.
yes. The more yeses that they have, the worse the need. But they could only have one. For example, medically diagnosed sleep apnea from a test. You can have a score of 1 and they'll qualify you as having impaired mouth syndrome score, okay? So it's not important how big or how low the score is. It's just more important that you start a conversation on the oral contribution to these symptoms. And there are 32 of them here. And every practice has got patients full of these. So let's just take teeth grinding, for example. Let's just take crowded lower anterior teeth, okay? Let's just see, somebody, you look at them from the side, the profile view, and they have weak upper lips. All right, the lip that's curled inward, it means that the maxilla is not sufficiently forward developed during childhood. So children's face is different from an adult's face because the children's face is not grown forward from the base. The base of the maxilla is at the hamular notch. And when you breathe through your nose and you eat standard American diet and you have tongue tie, you end up growing part way forward instead of all the way forward. And that's how you end up with this look. All right. So whenever you see somebody's lip drop straight down, I can guarantee you they have deficient jaw development and they would have airway problem. And you eat the wrong diet here, the kid is toast. Yeah. So
that's not what we would say chair side though, right? We don't say that chair side, right?
Well, look, by the time the kid comes to us, like the morning of the consult in this case, mom came in without the kid. I said, what happened? She said, well, She had a headache this morning. I said, what did she have for dinner last night? Pasta. So in my book, I wrote a whole chapter on not pasta, but glyphosate, toxins poisoning Mother Earth and your children. So glyphosate is sprayed on most of the wheat grown in the United States. And the part that didn't get sprayed, they get pollinated because of the wind, okay? So wheat is in everything, and glyphosate is in all the breakfast cereals, according to the Environment Work Group, okay? So it is widespread prevalent, okay? You have to find a way to coach people on how to eat correctly so they don't get stuffy nose, they don't have tonsillar enlargements, they don't just rely on adenotonsillectomy for solutions, all right? This is where we grow from, and whether we thrive or we crash just depends on this. So depends on how far down the hill the patient goes. You may need to have all these tools in your toolbox, in your knowledge base, before you want to start a case, because it could be hazardous to your practice. You know, some of these patients who are very far down the hill, like I showed you on this, adrenal decline slide. If you don't have adrenals, you cannot mobilize your body to fight an immunological warfare against viral infections or cancer, all right? If you don't have adrenals, you don't recover from anything, all right? So this is the sympathetic nervous system. You need to be able to mobilize your psychoneuroendocrine immunology. Remember that big word? Yeah, okay. So even at rest, you need your sympathetic nervous system to empower your immune system to mount a fight, okay? So you need to know how to assess where the patient is, and then you need to know how to put together this thing. So back to that very good question you asked, Lauren, how to build a team. I will tell you that the most important member of the team is you, the mouth doctor quarterback, okay? The mouth doctor is simultaneously the general contractor for the entire cranial facial region and the most important play caller. When you call in the ENT, well, not for adenotonsillectomy, before you try a bunch of other things, non-surgical, non-medicational, which is one, diet change, and two, I like to send my patient to an acupuncturist, all right? A lot of people don't want more of the same. A lot of my patients come to me having done their intense research. I mean, I'm really impressed by some of them. And they don't want drugs, okay? So I looked at them and I said, you know, if this was my kid, I would want to do it this way. The kid didn't come with ADHD, so I'm not gonna put them on Ritalin, right? I mean, if the kid was born with issues, I would want to say, okay, what else besides breast milk and Airway can help? The answer is everybody gets better when you give them the right care. Give the body what it needs and it will thrive. And how do you thrive? You start from good sleep with open airway and good nutrition, bar none. And why go to ICU to get it? I keep saying that, right? Doing your own bed, doing your own kitchen.
What's so great about all your work, Dr. Liao, is that it's inviting. It's not intimidating. I know we're talking about a lot of heavy topics and kind of some doom and gloom here and there, but you're really holding patients and people accountable in a good way because you have control of this. So your quote, like building health is an inside job, just like happiness, right?
Yeah,
So
no, this is true. This is an inside job. You know, I don't know about any one of you, but I don't want to hand my lungs, my prostate, or my brain case to any surgeon.
Mhm.
All right, I would rather take care of it, be the gardener, and take care of my turf. Okay, and so what we look for is oral contribution to all these symptoms here. All right, and can we help snoring? Yes. Can we help obesity? You bet. If we don't take the time to care, okay, the most important part for this person is not his amalgam filling. I'm sorry. I have been a biological dentist. There was a time in my career when, oh, you got to take care of this first before your body can respond. True, in an optimal way, in the absence of a fire to put out. There are many more fires that are much more urgent than an amalgam replacement. Okay. So, right, growing pain. Okay, so back to this teamwork thing that you're talking about. I refer to my acupuncturist. She told him how to eat, how to massage his ileocecal valve, and what not to do, like eat an oversized dinner before you go to bed. And guess what? He left without his hip pain.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
So that was part of the reason. So acupuncturists could be a really amazing resource. Get to know one by just becoming their patient. Um, you know, get on their table and let's say, do me. See what you can do for my pain, for my stuffy nose, for my snoring, for whatever. Okay. My depression, my anxiety, my moodiness, my low energy. Okay. So that for many of my patients, so you have to know your patient type, right? Some people are insurance, some practice are very insurance driven. So you might have to go with medical offices that take insurance, right? Well, the patient come to me, they're yoga practitioners, they've tweaked their diet to the nth degree. They don't want more of the same. They don't want to be sent for more thyroid testing. They've exhausted all of that. Okay, so for me, thyroid is one of the most frequent needs. So you need to look for a good functional medicine partner. You need a good craniosacral therapist, an osteopathic doctor who does manipulations on the cranium, on the craniosacral sac, the meningeal system. They're worth their weight in gold. If you're lucky enough, hire one into your office and pay them a king's ransom. That's how important that is. I think beyond that, you being the quarterback of this mouth, teaching them how to eat, showing them this. By the way, I wanted to show you a quick study. This is a French study that came out in May, okay, very early on in the pandemic. They used a BMI of 28.4. That's very low, okay? Most of the Americans, they have BMIs way, way up there, okay? So, you know where 28.4 is? It's right here. Most Americans don't look like this. They're either like this or they're like this, okay? So even at that, here's the outcome. So the outcome is either you get intubated or you die. Okay, that's the kind of outcome that they're measuring against. So what are the greatest risk factors? People who are already treated with obstructive sleep apnea. That's the highest odds ratio of ending up with death or intubation as a primary outcome. Okay, why? Because these people are already way down the hill on their adrenal decline. Okay. The next one is heart disease, which we all know about. The next one is age. And age is related to what? Adrenal decline, right? What's retinal? Retinal is eye, microcirculation, diabetes, right? Kidney, diabetes, all right? Kidney, adrenal, okay? So there is no doubt in my mind that the most important part of the team is the mouth doctor who understands this whole thing. All right, so
Right.
you become the most pivotal player, whether you are acting as an integrated mouth consultant or a holistic mouth doctor or airway center mouth doctor. You just need to take charge of this thing so that your patients gets the benefit of this. That's
Absolutely.
the reason why I wrote this. And so the question then becomes, okay, for the younger people, how do you reverse them early on? For the sicker people who are further down the hill, how do you bring it back? What is the knowledge base that the dentists need? You know, what I found in my training of AMDs is that dentists are very good at fixing teeth, but they lack that kind of knowledge. There's a huge knowledge gap for them to become system thinkers, like physiology, like anatomy, like fascia, like how does the mouth connect to the low back pain, right? How does malocclusion relate to knee pain, okay? Foot collapse, pronation of the feet, we have something to do with that, okay? But we're not very good system thinkers. And so that's why I put this out in part to become a resource for dentists who are interested to become airway center mouth doctors, and in part to let the patient public understand that, oh, there's a new breed of doctors called AMDs who are able to connect these dots for me. Everybody's got a
There's certainly
doctor.
not enough of them, Dr. Liao. 'Cause just like you,
Yeah.
I'm constantly getting instant messages, DMs from patients of where can they go to have
Yeah.
airway centered dentists. So there's definitely a shortage. So that's why we're here, right? To help with that deficit. And between your programs, Dr. Moralia's programs, other programs, we're open to all the programs. As many tools as you have in your toolbox, the better.
There are way, way, way more need and way too few suppliers of this need. Yeah.
So Dr. Liao, if it's okay with you, I am just going to go ahead and give some announcements because I know we're past time, but the good news is that we learned so much from you, and as we could spend 12 hours talking about it, I am sure.
It's a joy. It's a joy to share.
We don't have questions because I think you did such a nice job of just explaining it and your stories and the visuals. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump to just some just kind of announcements. There's some exciting things coming up that I want to share.
Sure.
And let me just go and do that. So bear with me, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think Dr. Steve Carstensen is on with us. I just wanted to share. Can you see my screen with the ADA slide?
No, Lauren, all we see is the conversation for Dr. Liao's.
Okay,
Hey.
is that Dr. Carstensen?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, terrific. Let me, I just got fancy today and got a second monitor, and obviously it's not working for me quite well. So let me just see if I can slide through here manually.
There
How's that one?
There we go.
Excellent. So Dr. Carstensen, since you're on the line, I'm so glad. Why don't you tell us about this exciting opportunity coming up soon, right? It's December 10th and 11th. Are you on mute? Well, I'll go ahead and share. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it quit on me just as I needed it to not.
Of course, that's the Zoom demon.
So yes, I'm so proud of the American Dental Association for supporting the children's airway events. We've had, this is our third meeting that we're going to have as a CE event. So we get a chance to introduce people to the kind of learning that they have to go on and learn a lot more about. But we have excellent speakers this year. On Thursday evening, Lauren Ballinger, who's a pediatric dentist from from Massachusetts, who only does airway in her practice as a pediatric dentist, is going to talk about her journey and why she does it that way. Susan Maples, a general dentist from Michigan, has an entire program about getting kids healthy. It's not just about their teeth. It's a little bit about their teeth, of course, but it's a lot about airway. It's a lot about nutrition. It's a lot about brushing and all the things that we can do. Howard Stupak is an otolaryngologist who wrote a book about surgery, but spent the first 2/3 of the book talking about growth and development of kids. And so I've talked with him, and he's a fantastic, excited about this. He's new to kind of this area for us, but his message is great. And then Becca Bacow is a world-class orthodontist. I'm happy to say works here in Bellevue, Washington. And she knows more than anybody needs to know about growth and development and paying attention to airway in kids. So right along the lines with what Dr. Felix's great message was tonight, come and listen to these experts. We're going to have worksheets. We're going to have Q&As. We're going to have a discussion time. So it's not just lectures. And you go away from that thinking, wow, I know a little bit more. And I got a plan for learning a lot more.
And then how do people register? Is it www.ada.org?
Just
That's
go
the
to
website?
type in ada.org CE Live, just like it says
Perfect.
there on the screen. And it'll take them right to it.
Well, I thank you for
Thank you for the opportunity of putting this on,
championing
Lauren.
it, for sure. And I'm so glad that we can raise awareness. And I'm also so excited because you'll be joining us for our upcoming Airway chats. So
Yeah.
Dr. Liao, I'd love to have you back in 2021 because I feel like we only got the tip of the iceberg tonight. So you're always welcome. But I do want to share that since Dr. Carstensen, you're with us, that you're going to be with us in January 20th to give us all the updates on the ADA and children's airway health. So we look forward to that. So thank you.
So, yeah, I got to say, I'm not going to talk about like policies and stuff like this. I'm going to talk about why it's important for our organizations. And then I'll know a little bit more by then too. We got some cool stuff coming up.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to that to kick off the year. I'm going to be having a patient, actually, from a patient's perspective. You might have heard of Ireland Bonds. She did a wonderful YouTube video on why malocclusion is not genetic. She took it upon herself to do really, really great, intense research. So I highly encourage you to Google her or look at that YouTube. But she's just going to share with us her story of extraction, retraction, orthodontics from a patient's perspective. We're going to have Dr. Ben Moralia, our regular here. We're going to talk about the benefits of expansion as it relates to TMD symptoms. And then Dr. Gerald Simmons will be joining us and we'll talk all about bruxism and grinding and the correlation to airway. And then Dr. Siegel's going to return again to talk about infants, pediatrics, TOTS in that age category. We had him on last month for the adults version. So exciting things happening with Airway Health Solutions. We're really happy to spread the word and raise awareness to airway health and collaborative care for sure.
Thank you so much for doing such a great job, Lauren.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
You rock.
So we do have a demand for airway dentists. We are partners really with Dr. Liao. You know, we're all kind of one big happy family in the airway rabbit hole because it's not the end all to go to one course. You know, we offer the pediatric mini residency with Dr. Moralia and the adult version. And for anyone who has taken our course already, we truly believe that Dr. Liao's course is a great follow-up course. But it doesn't really matter what order you take it in, but to get different perspectives, learn different things, have different tools in your toolbox. It's not like one and done, as many of you know who are on this call, who you are already on this airway journey. So the more you know, the better. And many times they reinforce concepts and make it clearer, so then you can translate that to your patients even more effectively. So we're also on social media. I try to post things that can be helpful for patient communications as well as research and thought leaders. So look for us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All of our airway chats, I call them, our conversations are uploaded to YouTube. So if you missed it or wanted to share for a lunch and learn with your team, be sure to visit us there. And then I'm also going through expansion myself. I don't know, Dr. Liao, have you noticed I'm wider yet?
Oh, yeah, no, I told you when you first came on, you look more beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
That's what this work does. It brings out a better version of everybody.
Well, it's the bone broth and it's the expansion. That's
You
what it is.
betcha, you betcha.
Thank you. And then Dr. Liao will send up some follow-up information, but he's also very accessible on social media. So you may just want to take a screenshot of this, but I will send a follow-up email to everyone as well. I know we're over time, but I just wanted to get all of this in so you had resources to go to. And then lastly, let me go down here. Okay, there's the contact information. Feel free to reach out. I can be the gatekeeper and help you get in touch with Dr. Liao if you need to, as well as any information for our upcoming mini residencies or airway chats. So I think it is a wrap. I'm going to stop the share so we can see each other a little bit bigger, not a little box in the corner. Dr. Liao, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge. The book, I can't wait for it to come out so patients can really have a license to thrive and understand the whole body connection, airway, nutrition, the being in the driver's seat, as you say, to really take control. And I love for the doctors to be the quarterbacks, male and female quarterbacks, if you would. So.
Right, it all starts here. It all starts here, okay? It's where life is. Everything else just details.
Well, I thank you again. Any last words you want to say, Dr. Liao?
No, the book will be available in January, and you can get on the VIP notice list through Lawrence because you've already registered with this event.
Absolutely. So whoever, I have your email because you registered already, you'll be on the pre-published list, the VIP list, and we'll make sure that you're aware when License to Thrive is published, which we can't wait. So thank you everyone for your attention. Thanks again, Dr. Liao. Dr. Carstensen, if you're still with us, thanks for jumping on. I wish you a successful event and happy holidays, everyone. This is the last one of the year. So we'll see you next year with a great lineup. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.